A couple of franchises with very high expectations when the season started, but a couple of franchises with very disappointing seasons as we head into Week 15. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horwitz. Glad to be with you on the NFL Previews presented by Comcast. It's the Saturday night game with Cincinnati heading out to San Francisco. And for more, we bring in NFL.com's Pat Kerwin from Fort Myers, as we do every week. And, Pat, you know, when you talk about these two teams, San Francisco and Mike Nolan, we're talking playoffs. Obviously, people talked about Cincinnati with the playoffs. You understand that the Bengals probably are more disappointing, but why is it that this season has been so bad for Cincinnati?
For Cincinnati, their defense never came to play, although they're getting a little better right now, Jason, and they're going to be able to play pretty well at this point against a team like San Francisco, but they didn't show up early in the year. They had offensive line injuries. They lost Rudy Johnson for a while, and then Carson Palmer made some mistakes. In the last 4 weeks, he's thrown a couple interceptions that were brought back for touchdowns. They still have great firepower in their passing game, though.
Pat, Carson Palmer's season this year compared to last has not been what people expected it to be. If you're a fan of the Bengals, does that worry you at all?
No, I think Carson Palmer is an elite quarterback in this league. He's got great weapons. Let's see if we can keep Chris Henry out of trouble in the offseason. Then you look at that matchup with their 3 wide receiver package. If they ever put a tight end in this mix, someone of the caliber of a Dallas Clark, you wouldn't be able to stop them. They got to take a hard look at how much gas Rudy Johnson has left in his tank, and some of those offensive tackles are getting kind of old. So they have some work to do there. They have a lot of work to do in the defense, specifically up front. And
that seems to be what we've been talking about with Cincinnati for the last couple of years
right.
As well. On the other hand, for San Francisco, they went out, they addressed defense in the offseason. They brought in Nate Clements. They brought in Michael Lewis. The defense still hasn't been phenomenal. The offense, everybody knows at this point, has struggled all season long. What aspect of this team to you has been more disappointing? The way the defense has played with the additions or how bad the offense has played?
Well, to me, you got to think that you're disappointed in the development of Alex Smith, the quarterback. He did not take the next big step up. Then he got hurt. Then he played with injury. And then it really looked dysfunctional between Mike Nolan and the quarterback as this season starts to wind down. That's the disappointing part. The money spent on defense needed to be spent. Remember, they got to be in a division that has Anquan Boldin and Larry Fitzgerald, and that's why they went out and got Nate Clements. But those guys need a pass rush up front. When they lost Manny Lawson, they weren't able to get after the quarterback the way they should. Then they lost their nose tackle. And in the last 3 weeks, Jason, San Francisco's given up 89 points. That's 30 a game. That's what the defense has done. It's not very good looking right now. They're glad to get this season over with and start to rebuild.
And Bryant Young, one of the last, is the last link to those Super Bowl teams. He said this is it for him. So they're going to be starting. They're not going to have any links to those fantastic teams of the 80s and the 90s, and the 90s being Bryant Young. When you look at this game particularly, it's going to be Shaun Hill starting for the 49ers. We got to see a little glimpse of him last week against Minnesota. Not bad. What do you expect against this Bengals defense?
I don't think he's going to have enough to do. His receivers really aren't threats to the Cincinnati Bengals group. Carson Palmer will go in there. They average 23 points a game on the road. They'll get 30 points against this team. San Francisco averages 9 points a game at home. I'd see them maybe generating those 9 points, no more than that. And Cincinnati gets themselves a nice, easy win.
Real quickly, Pat, just one adjustment to that. When San Francisco goes to the draft next year, because they'll have a top 5 pick, assuming everything plays out the way we expect it to, what's their first-round pick look like? What position?
If you're going to play that defense, you're going to need a great nose tackle. That's the first thing, or a big-time 5 technique. Look how Bill Belichick built his. That whole front, that 34 defense, first-round draft picks. That's where I would go if I was Mike Nolan, defensive-minded head coach. Take one more shot with Alex Smith before you start thinking about offense.
All right. I think I would go wide receiver, but it would depend on who the wide receiver is in the top 5.
I'll do that in the second round.
All right. Pat Kerwin, thank you very much, sir. We'll keep talking, keep getting to you throughout the weekend.
Thank you. Take care, Jason.
Folks, for more on this game or any other as we head into Week 15, be sure to stay with CBSSports.com and watch everything else on the CBS Audience Network. For Pat Kerwin, I'm Jason Horwitz. Take care.